We have never had the kinds of problems that we're facing now, and each time we talk to someone else, perhaps we get the idea through that we are suffering severely in our state, and we have to look at every possible source of income if we're going to survive this very difficult time, which doesn't appear to look like it will be over in just a few months or even 1 year. It is going to be here with us for a while. And for that reason, I think this bill will help in a lot of ways to produce some income to our state, which counts on general revenue. Sales tax is 74% of general revenue. The most important thing is that this bill conforms the Florida Sales Tax Code with provisions of the Streamlined Sales Tax and Sales and Use Tax Agreement, which is a national effort that we have been somewhat involved in since it began before 2000. This bill makes it easier for remote sellers to determine how to compute Florida sales tax that should be paid. The bill does not require, but rather encourages voluntary compliance. In addition to the bill, we'll be sending a memorial to Congress to urge national requirements for compliance, which would then further enhance Florida's efforts to bring in a fair and equitable tax revenue of approximately $2 to $4 billion at a time when we are in such dire need. Even without the national support, however, this bill should bring in between $20 and $40 million per year. Most important is that this is not a new tax. This is simply capturing a tax and many taxes by people who owe us tax in the state of Florida. It's not a new tax. It is capturing tax payments that are owed to us. And with that, I'll introduce my colleague, Representative Winkle.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Senator Lynn. I'd like to welcome all the people that are standing here behind us today and who are helping us with this bill and who have seen hope in this bill. And we have here with us today representatives from AARP of Florida, Associated Industries of Florida, the Clearinghouse on Human Services, Florida Alliance for Retired Americans, Florida Association of District School Superintendents, Florida Center for Fiscal and Economic Policy, Florida Education Association, Florida PIRG, Tax Watch, Ask Me, Florida Children's Campaign, Florida AFL-CIO, Florida Association of Counties, Florida Chamber of Commerce, Florida League of Cities, Florida Retail Federation, Police Benevolent Association, and others. I think that's part of the big news of this press conference today. It's no news that Florida and her citizens are hurting and that our economy is very, very sick. That's old news these days. What is news here today is that Senator Lynn and I have a solution to help Florida forge a path out of this economic crisis. What we have here is a two-step plan that if both the Florida legislature and Congress do its part, it will bring at least $2 to $4 billion into Florida's economy each year going forward, and maybe more. What Floridians need to understand, and Senator Lynn so aptly said, is that this is not a new tax. This is a tax that is already owed to Floridians. What our citizens need to understand is that this piece of legislation that Senator Lynn and I are bringing forward for our colleagues in the House and Senate to vote on will remove some of the barriers that the state of Florida faces in consistently and fairly collecting a tax that is already owed to Florida and that many businesses and many people are unfairly avoiding to pay. If Congress also does its part, that not only Florida, but 44 other states that rely on sales tax to fund much of their state's responsibilities to their citizens will also be able to solve some of their grave budget woes. There is much more to this story, however, than budgets, economies, and fair taxes. This is essentially a story about people. This story is about leveling the playing field so that stores on the main streets of Florida's towns and cities can compete successfully against Goliath companies who have the freedom to do business in Florida's borders, but do not take on the responsibility to remit what is owed to Floridians. This is a story about being fair to Floridians who work in those stores and on those main streets so that they can keep their jobs and maintain their quality of life. This is a story about a seasoned and respected, wherever Senator Lynn is there, a seasoned and respected Republican senator who has agreed to work with a freshman Democrat House member and forget about unbending political ideology and come to a practical solution that does what is right, good, and fair for the people of this state. Perhaps what is truly most important and what offers hope for not only Florida's future but the nation is that here today, people who represent unusually and vastly different perspectives and special interests have come together to support this fair tax legislation. These are people from business, unions, education, and social services that see the necessity for fair tax reform in this bill. All the folks you see behind here and before you love the great state of Florida and our great nation. All the people you see before you have faith in the wonderful potential of our state and its citizens. All the folks you see here before you are willing to put their shoulder to the wheel to work to solve our great crisis. What you see here is not only people supporting this piece of fair tax legislation brought forth by Senator Lynn and I, but people who have hope for a brighter future and see a way to get there. And so I thank you for being here. We'll take some questions, and there's some people who can really answer some good questions here, because this is a complex piece of legislation. So thank you.